Hello, Cancer, to another timeless, love-varying reading where we discuss however love may be present or even absent in your life. Please bear in mind a few things before we get started. This reading may provide universal justice if you're here for Cancer being your Sun, Rising, and or Jupiter position. However, should you be here for Cancer being your Moon, Mercury, and or Venus position, you may be in search of emotional redemption. And I will ask that you check out the description box to check out my sister channel where the content over there may be of benefit for you. Whatever brings you here, there may be something here for you at this time. With that being said, feminine and masculine energies are non-gender specific, and past, present, and future energetical timelines could always come forth. Use your discernment to navigate through this collective general reading. Leave behind what is not yours. Tiny second, I'm like, who am I reading for? Hello, Cancer. Alright, we're gonna get some opening messages. Kind of see what's going on. This is not an oracle deck. This is tarot, but I'm using it to pretty much read it for an oracle message. So we have the Ten of Quills, which is the Ten of Swords energy. Weep now or nevermore. Big release energy I'm feeling. Big release. It's already in the acceptance stage. It's more of like allowing the emotions to kind of take over and let them have a say. We have the Hermit. Not one of all the crowd to pry into thine hour of secrecy. Be silent in that solitude. I love this interpretation of the Hermit because the Hermit is an energy that pulls back. We're always so distracted and needing to be perfect and what it means to pull back. For some, it's difficulty finding the right meditation or thinking and requiring the unit guided meditation and all the nuanced behaviors if you're properly breathing, sitting correctly, is it the right time of day? Did you have too much to eat? All these nuanced behaviors that allow you that don't allow you to get back into the natural focus of thing, which is the inner solitude of being quiet. And we have Six of Quills, Six of Swords energy. We called it the River of Silence, for there seemed to be a hushing influence in its flow. Love this. To be a hushing influence in its flow. The influence is so overwhelming and so loud that it causes you to be quiet and embrace the journey at hand. Because everything else is chaotic, but holding on to that chaos is holding on to old paradigms, old traditions that just no longer function. Old people, old situations, maybe even job, maybe even a setting, an environment, geographical ideologies, theologies, opinions, beliefs, anything of old wanting to kind of be brought into a new refreshment, a refinement of some kind. Alright. Let's go deeper. Let's go deeper for Cancer. What is in the death position for Cancer? We have the Six of Swords. Wow. So the oracle message, in a way, we ended with the Six of Quills, the Six of Swords, and we're beginning the reading with the Six of Swords. So you're very much on the wave. The question is whether or not it's silent or is it loud? Do you want to traverse with peace and be lightweight, or do you want to feel the anchoring, tumultuous waves of the water storms of the water, and risk an anchor going down and keeping you locked, and risk for destruction for the ship to undergo and cause a leak and sink. There's an ending to that since it's a death position. So it's more like, I feel like the ego has done its job. It's now up to ether to kind of allow you to trust what it is that you're surrendering, like as if it's an ego death, coming to peace with all the minor battles you've been battling, and letting go of the war, and letting the war finally be over. It may be going into a cold war, maybe a little bit, but that's more so for self-preservation, which is kind of coming from this hermit energy here, from the sidelines here, like asking you to preserve the essence within you. Even it needs, some of that needs refinement and needs figuring out. If we can figure it out later, is what ether is saying. All right, let's see what's happening for Cancer. Let's see what's happening. There's a lot of success to this journey as well, okay? Like, this is where the choice, the element of surprise, is the power of having a choice. You've been more so trying to pray your accolades and your success and your destinies into fruition step by step, but it's also causing a lot of destruction within you, and it's hard for you to pin down, and it's making you actually become more religious and more into belief, more into faith. And it's almost a little bit spiritual gaslighting I'm hearing. Sorry to put it this way, if it hurts. Yet I see it being a bit of an issue, because the ether doesn't want you to have a journey living the life through ether, and only through ether means, but also through the experiences, the senses that make the water what it is, make the alchemy of the magic that the boat doesn't sink and go under over this bed of water, but like something as our body with mass and living floats or may not float, might sink to the bottom, right? Or the being, or how there's certain substances that sink and certain substances that stay afloat. That's like the characteristic of water, seeing the alchemy function, not function. And then there's the alchemy and the dance and the magic happening on top of that water. You know, can anyone really walk on water? And there's animals that can walk on water, but then a density of a mass of a human being, can they really walk on water? And then you have a whole cruise ship being able to gloat, like to just float on the water and take you from one continent to the next continent with no problem, in a sense, you know. So it's miraculous how mass can mean absolutely nothing, while everything means something. And trying to find the right trajectory of when mass is important to you is trying to understand what things in the material world are important to you. And that will help you make more refined choices, and kind of also see whether or not who you are, where you're an ego that operates more so from the light, or if you're an ego that operates more so from the dark, or if you're a step ahead of both of them and you're a being operating both light and dark. And that's even more intriguing for the ether to see, because there's a 360 equilibrium that you're trying to make sense of, rather than a linear, I just want to get from point A to point B. Even if the interest just is starting now, you've began it a while ago for this journey to be here now, for you to be in this death position of letting go and allowing it to be part of the natural flow all at the same time, like full acceptance. Like, it's an inevitable full acceptance, this feeling, right? You really can't do much about it. You can't control the variables of how someone feels. You may have, like, put it in your existence. You may have believed in the power of God and manifested your person into your life. And then you realize there are other aspects to keep it together. And then you may become aware that paying attention to so much energy, making sure it comes to you, that you've neglected all other aspects to keep what is and has come to you. And those are the ways that human can find emotional intelligence and teach ether how to paint the world more beautiful sets of ways, rather than it offering a lot of destruction and keeping destruction as the pinnacle of that's the only thing that life has to offer, which it doesn't. But it's the first thing to remember and the hardest to let go of. Alright, let's see what's in the what's happening position. What's happening for Cancer. This is more like the energy of keeping being curious about yourself before you became so obsessed in manifesting the perfect life that you have. Do you remember who that energy is? What that energy is all about? Sorry if it's loud, but I have to snack. I'll be chewing in a second. Like some of you think that you can make up what you've neglected within yourself by providing availability for others, because you think that if you need a hug, someone else ought to need a hug. And although the statement might be true, because you could make yourself available for a hug, then someone could say, oh, thank you, I needed that. Doesn't always mean that you also will become satisfied when somebody comes across your way, or that anyone will come across your way, or that you won't put a quantifiable number of disappointment that it was only one person that came your way, rather than 100 million people, because you want to just either make up for lost time, make up for lost feelings, lost responsibility. It's interesting because it's like a multi-tiered split. It's like, I'm also seeing this split and divide in self-recognition of where you have a child, maybe a second child, and you see the ways that you are parenting the second child compared to how you were or still are a parent to the first child. But the way seeing you kind of understand the difference is what's interesting, because your ego here is very intelligent, and it being intelligent enough to recognize that, do you have a sense of responsibility to discipline that behavior? And disciplining doesn't mean you're disciplining negative energy. Discipline is disciplining, understanding the ways of compromise, because sometimes you might have laws and rules that kind of are supposed to be for everyone, but there are ways that you can amend the laws, right? And there are ways that you can petition to have something being gotten rid of. So that could mean that although you might think you're right, after enough ways that the child could express themselves, you might then realize, oh, I'm not always right. But then hearing that and getting into that point might trigger you to remember, oh, well, of course, I innately do know that I'm not always right. But look at how long that conversation took, all the emotions that it took, all the situations that it took for the child to be able to communicate that point that you already knew. Seeing it from that lens, and then bringing maturity to that lens, that you could discipline more maturity of self to recognize that aspect of self. And that recognition of self is where the ether steps in and fortifies the light to keep that more satiated, fulfilling, vibrant, and easier for you to access and deliver of service energy, of light energy, while also having done the dark energy in order to maintain its brightness. That's how you weave in both light and darkness, without fearing that paying attention to only darkness makes you a psychopath, a narcissist, a fucking, like, bad person, a bad witch. Like, the whole of reality is a perspective. And the longing is for most is human connectedness. The human connectedness, however, is already there. It's just how many steps are you away from that inner compromise to recognize it. And then you realize, oh, it's emotions that kind of block that clarity, that promote the idea that there's a veil of which it is that you don't see. All that is what's happening. Let's see. We're finally gonna get a card here. I'm shuffling like crazy. Thank you. The Emperor. So all that is like emotion, and then it's like what you've done. And what you've done is been the alpha energy to who you are. Whether you're a feminine or masculine, doesn't matter. You've been alpha male in being adamant to get what it is that you want. And you had good intentions to do it. But the Emperor is it's a nuanced energy, all right? They don't necessarily back down, all right? Kind of sly in the face here, ambiguous, doesn't really, it knows what it wants, doesn't really know exactly how to get there, but it knows it's going to receive what it is that they set their mind out to receive, period. And that diligence does require discipline. But the disciplining, as explained before, is different than the emotional difference, than the emotional discipline that might be a teachable lesson here since the beginning of the reading. That emotional Six of Swords energy of picking the battles wisely, debating wisely, at the expense of knowing that paying attention to self is also being able to humbly put yourself in another person's shoes and see life from the perspective that they may see it as. And if you are challenged by seeing it from that perspective, or knowing what the perspective is, by listening out with your senses to see where they are in their perspective and how that meets yours and how you can compromise. Whatever that engagement is, this could be like employee to boss, this could be a boss to CEO, like this could be like you to a neighbor, you to your child, you to a dog, to a plant, whatever it means to have a sense of responsibility for something living. And then there are people who live in this reality and can have communication with the things that are also still living, just absent in this realm, which is communicating with the dead, which are not dead to the people that are listening to them, delivering the messages, and you, the listener, are intrigued or resonate with the message and like are moved to wherever your mind wants to go to feel like, whoa, that was wild, whatever that experience may or may be. To be able to be read or to be read is a vulnerable situation for most people. So it's easier for them to condemn it quickly, because to be naked and raw without actually being naked and raw is something very sensitive to most individuals, because we're all very sensitive to trying to make sense of this life. So we're active in trying to kind of fit ourselves into it as however opportunistic it may be. And then sometimes the ante gets pushed, and that is the ante of the Emperor energy pushing forth. You don't know where the inertia comes from, but the inertia is there to kind of make sure that it vindictively receives what it wants at the cost of whatever expense. So there can be a lot of accolades for this Emperor. This Emperor can have a whole fucking kingdom and rule for echelons of time because of this inner knowing that just has such a force that it just ripples out into existence and it's sustainable. It's the other variables, though, that what the ripples are affecting that are now starting to come up to the surface as being that shit at the bottom of the ocean as the trash wanting to come up and being cleaned. That's where feminine energy is wanting to come in and ask the listener to really understand what is being triggered within thyself at the moment. Is it the harsh space of feeling guilty and wishing you could do better? Or is it the knowing the strength of what can be and feeling it in the belly of wanting that willpower to kick in? Let's see what happened. What happened for Cancer? A lot of things that don't really want to be talked about. At the same time, there's a lot of things to say. It's very interesting. Alright, what happened? The Two of Swords, yeah. You don't know what it is that you want to say, you don't really know what to do, but then you kind of do, and you don't, sure, it's fickle. What happened? Let's see what's next here. Where to look for Cancer? There's an unfinished story to the Two of Swords. Where to look for Cancer? Yeah, it's an unfinished story. Because, again, you're so busy at making sure that everything is perfect with the foundation that now looking a bit closer at what keeps and maintains the foundation, that's where now the insecurities are coming in again. They're being reintroduced. And it's foreign feeling of like the topic, but it's making you feel almost guilty because the memory of the past life, whether that was in this life or literally past lives, kind of, again, didn't get addressed, but you manifested out of them. But now you're kind of in the position of like fearing if your choices are going to repeat themselves or which choices you can do to manipulate yourself away from certain lessons. Because the power of manifestation also kind of taught you that you can ignore some certain variables and kind of get away with it. Because you're so focused on the accolades of what you've attracted. But then what you've attracted is telling you that it only has a certain longevity. And that's until the shadow of that supersedes the brightness of the object or the material or that of which is manifested, becomes bigger than the brightness and what it is to maintain it. That's how darkness operates. Clear dismittance or dismissal is dismissal, and dismissal can grow. The best way to do that is to become very well acquainted to how it can continue being left in a dismissive state and it not get in the way of what it is that you truly desire and truly want to avoid. Right. Can we get a card here for where to look? Where to look for Cancer? You have to look with your eyes open. I do see that. It's interesting. Chewy again. I gotta eat. This is taking too long. sometimes the emotions get anchored so deeply within the energy, it's really hard for the light of ether to come through and slice the energy in any which way or form to deliver a message. It sometimes is the message at hand. Alright, let's see if we did it. We're going to look for Cancer. We're cracking it. Alright, we're to look for Cancer. Jesus, the Knight of Swords. That was all of the magic that we just did. Solar plexus, a whole bit. Eating for the dark energies. The Knight of Swords. Alright, you'd be surprised at how like emotionally eating feeds darkness. Alright, the Knight of Swords. I mean, Master Seventh's energy is all about air magic. Not only trying to understand emotional intelligence using tarot and what it can trigger the mind and the emotions and physical and spiritual, but literally understanding telepathic communication in a way that we can resort back into the rhythm of who we are and then communicate that heartbeat in a way that we can feel it on this earth. And that can be done through the magic of a third eye. To understand that as multifaceted, I'm burping my way through this now, excuse me, and being a human going through all these experiences of vibration is a tough task for an individual who's very conscientious within their own body. We call that most oftentimes the people that are in this niche sensitives or empaths, because they can kind of have more humility to understand the humbleness that it requires to be softer to themselves, and then also in that moment try to find a way to boost up the ego to become their own protector, so that way they realize they're not sensitive. We are not sensitive individuals. We are not, like always, like rambunctious or whatever, like whatever category you get put in for being like quote unquote sensitive, and that it's like pity unto thee. It's actually quite the opposite. Like to be able to translate information or to transcribe or relay a message that resonates to the point where an individual didn't even really realize that that's what it was, is such a powerful thing to do or to have or to be a part of or to be, that to then battle with the other alter ego that is like then second guessing the sensitive person whether or not they're a good individual is ludicrous. Like, why is the sensitive person questioning whether or not they're legitimate? And the brash person, the one that's like up there and getting like his way or the highway, gets all the rewards and what we think are the benefits of making and having a good life, which is not necessarily true. Not that those two worlds can't overlap, because woke don't mean broke, ladies and gentlemen. All right, woke do not mean broke. Anyway, so Knight of Swords is just taking in that energy of self and bringing it to an acknowledgement at least, and seeing where you are responsible for that. All right, and if you have children, you discipline your children, you ground your children, that you also do that with yourself, that you also put yourself on timeout. Why are you here, Cancer? Yeah, 10 of Wands. Right, you're here because you've came a long way, and you just want to make sure that you hear the validation that you've done it the right way. And as soon as you click off, and you're done being fed with all that you needed, you're back to maybe thinking and second guessing certain aspects of yourself. That's the Two of Swords energy. And it's again because of all that alpha energy. Like maybe you've been, if you're feminine bodied and you've been in your alpha energy for a long time, you're just now maybe trying to step into the new role of alpha female energy as being female bodied. And it's really difficult for the intuition to kind of like accept it because it's been in emperor mode this whole entire time. If you're a masculine energy and really have been in your alpha male energy, it's the same way. It's really difficult to allow the emotions to come through and allow the emotions to kind of like tickle, so that way you can also embrace the beauty that life has to offer and sit with the things that you bring to the table and that you bring home, that you spend quality time with the things that you claim to be responsible for and having, that you make time for these things, because I can see difficulty and knowing when to really cleanse your space and get rid of energies that are just no longer needed to be around because you've conquered it already. You know, like I can see that being the issue of introducing alpha female energy to masculine bodied individual. And this isn't about like being gender specific here with the message. This is just more about anatomically understanding that we are all feminine masculine energy, and alpha mode has been an alpha male mode in this reading. And wherever you identify in bringing understanding or wanting to seek or search guidance or seek understanding, that's what it requires: a listening ear and a sensitive touch of humility and humbleness to accept that that's alpha and female wanting to come in and communicate with you, because that is actually the creator energy that you've been thinking as emperor energy and male energy. It's actually feminine energy. So how to harmonize? I think it's going to tie a bit into the Knight of Swords energy here, you know, taking in full acceptance with the idea that you've been calling in masculine energy to do all of this work for you, but that's only to trigger you into the reality that it requires movement in order to do something, and that whole process, however, is creation, feminine energy. So let's see how to harmonize. Let's see what comes up. Top out of my ass here. All right. Like I said, it ties in a little bit here with Swords energy, and it's not the nicest card, but it proves my point here. Three of Swords energy. It's difficult to kind of bring in and challenge the mind at this time to kind of re-identify the genders, which is ironic that we're doing it in English now with more like, I won't go into it because it's like a touchy subject for many people, but in Romance languages, even in German, you have like feminine, masculine qualities of objects, right? And they're to be understood, and it kind of goes with the flow of things. Like to know, like I speak German, so to know that is to understand the flow of German, kind of permits the energies, and the acceptance of that is either neutral, or that is feminine, or that is masculine. That's like how it goes, right? That's accepted in that language at least, and then you have other languages that have the similar niches of expression. When it comes down to fucking English, that's when we take the nuance that is understood in other languages and now make it complex. So we're trying to understand that as beings, as political beings, as people that have, especially in the United States, a chance to bring their authenticity to the forth-running political scheme and a political agenda, and to bring more community and more connectedness. A lot of topics are being like triggered to pretty much negate just two different things, feminine and masculine energy. And however it crisscrosses and gets a chance to express, well, that's the same as to understanding how colors work. Colors come from the fragments of fucking white light, you know? And so is blue the same as purple? No, but it's the same vibration of being light, right? Like, is white light going to be upset that blue calls itself blue and the red calls itself red? You know, if anything, white light might be a little bit more egocentric because, like, motherfuckers, you wouldn't be existing if it wasn't for me, right? So that's where it gets kind of the debacle of trying to understand existence and the pyramid, like, of how we think behind our two eyes with our one mouth and our two little nostrils of a nose. It's like there's many geometric shapes to try to understand our thoughts, but like happening at all times. I'm seeing all that, like, pressing the limits in the mind of the Three of Swords with the injuries to what you've learned in your life and your past life and your current life and your past life and the lives to come, and wanting to not permit that injury again. And having walked as finite as you have, you've been pushed to be comfortable, but now we're going to kind of like take the flooring away from you so that you can see that you are magic 369 energy and can sustainably keep yourself eternally vivacious. You know, that's kind of like in honor of knowing the Emperor will work in tandem with the Empress. The Emperor will respect the feminine and masculine energy within themselves at some point, at any point, to understand the rewards it's receiving. And when the Emperor gets injured with betrayal and denial, that's when it's time to move from one situation to another situation and reassess, rethink, replan, re-strategize. And wherever that is to making sense of a story in your life, that's more or less your maturity on accepting that you're part of that energy that I read. You embody that. So you have the ability to stand tall before and after and all 360 around your own single consciousness and refine the choices that are now unfolding in before you because of the past choices you've made, and accepting them for who they are and growing into them with forgiveness and with a less burdened heart. Alright, a birthing situation. Yep, the Ace of Swords. I mean, air magic is all around the fucking Emperor here. Right, besides that Ten of Wands. The Ten of Wands is that anger, the pain, the audacity of just the constant nuanced cycles that just keep popping up in Cancer's life, and not really understanding how they can get rid of it or what choices they're making that keeps perpetuating them in the same cycle. But it's the truth of it, whatever that it is, that just like made sense to you in this moment, that helps you see and bring a light to situations that are no longer unfolding for yourself or unfolding in a righteous way that you are proud of, and becoming the Emperor and making sure that you devise a different plan, a different route. It's actually pretty like sexy, vivacious energy because of the intelligence here. It's a highly intelligent way of maneuvering. Okay, people are keeping a close watch on you, but not close enough that they can actually do any harm. For that, you're just too fast in the way that you tend to self. Even if there's high ego involved here, okay, let's not be mistaken. There's a lot of mental drama, so the ego is being pressed like crazy. There is a lot of pain and chronic elements here coming through too that limit the progression. I see that too, and the physical ability to wake up and do things and complete things might be difficult. But the fact that you do get things done, you always have gotten things done, that's the Emperor energy, having always worked on your foundation. And now bringing your emotions to an understanding is incredible to see, because I haven't seen this energy for you as of late. And you're really practicing how to be in that in-between, where it's the mystery of how does this thing stay on top of the water? How can you levitate? How can you get your own 369 magic and feel never trapped in any place in time, in anyone, under anything, while being devoted and loyal, or seek devotion and loyalty and sacred union? It's achievable. Everywhere you around is perfect. And if it gets untouched by human hand, then it's usually even more perfect. Right. This kind of goes to say that you don't really need to be touched by man in order to feel perfect. By human. Okay. The hue of a man. Grab some more cards from here. I'm seeing a lot of crows here, so my Poe deck will deliver the message. Ace of Candles. It's Ace of Wands energy, right? More fire energy. Igniting that the true air magic is the quality of remembering who you are, which is that inertia of light, the essence of your spirit. Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there, wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. Fantastic message. Alright, let's see where else we're going. The Ace of Candles and the Ten of Wands here is protecting your heart of the Three of Swords, where you feel like you keep getting cut and dissected. But there's a cord that you've always latched onto that's always brought you out of the darkest corners of your mind, the darkest corners of your longing. But ironically, you've never been able to reach your own DMT, and I'm wondering why. And maybe it's because you need to be cut from the term the Matrix in order to get you reacquainted with the true essence of who you are. Resonate, whoever that may resonate. Some of you are doing like, I'm seeing too much because it's almost giving me like x-ray vision of being so in the whole, wanting to put a spell on making sure the soulmate comes through and sees you and believes you and is devoted and isn't going anywhere. Like, you're binding people. Even the oldest, like, strongest hoodoo voodoo don't even really talk about that. Like, you don't use the energies for that. It has been used for energies as such, but it doesn't mean it was born from that power. Yeah, apocalypsis. Yeah, like needing to get out of the matrix. It's like the fundamental last piece. It's not the last piece, but it is the last piece. It's the next message. I almost said I gotta be careful what I'm saying, but fuck no, not that I'm careful what I'm saying. I don't care what I trigger. It's more so understanding the breath that you're gonna have afterwards of hearing it. Kairos, yeah. Like, can you see with your eyes open? Probably not. Can you see with your eyes closed? Well, I wonder if you ask the question with your eyes closed whether you can see, and you have fear and you see that, what the fuck are you seeing in the darkness? Because what you should see should bring you euphoria of light and acceptance. It makes you not afraid to go home and address fear. I don't know, it's a weird message. Very scaly here. Very scary. I'm hearing scary, but I meant scaly. If you're an individual that got really sad and or gets really sad seeing this, like if you see these 3 cards and it triggers like tears, then there is negative energy being like sent your way as and through artificial light, aka an omen in that regard, being put onto you or placed onto you maybe a long time ago. It could be generational here. A long time ago someone put something like a bad eye on something, on a name. Well, they're just waking up the Queen of Darkness and see what's going on over there. But right now, we're not worried about that. There's never anything to worry about. Just to figure out. And even that is on a need-to-know basis. So, we're going to move on. Eight of Wands, speed. If your consciousness, the message here is if your consciousness can learn how to move fast enough, and this, I mean, I'm not going to be able to go into a lot of details here because I just need to trigger the person who may resonate with. If you can consciously find yourself to balance yourself with the speed of acknowledgement, you can obliterate any omen that has been put onto you. Yep, judgment. Because you're stepping into action with some versions of acceptance that requires you to understand something. Ace of Cups, I was about to say again, Ace of Cups, satisfaction. Alright, that just means it's a direct line message actually from Ether. The judgment of this is to just accept the message and have the humbleness to kind of resonate with whatever resonates and to kind of still go with the flow, like the Six of Swords in the beginning of the reading, alright? And the Six of Swords in the beginning of the reading. To just kind of accept the flow for what it is and know that everything that is happening actually in satisfaction and whatever speed that is going on, you can tell by your emotions. Like if you feel yourself feeling better and better, then the satisfaction is coming further and further closer to you. If you see yourself still feeling upset, then the satisfaction isn't yet over. And you can tell the speed of how the action of ether helping you is based on your intuitive sight by feeling. But this is only if you then understand all the corners of the mind to control this feeling of yours within. Not one leak can be there. I'm being told to leave the messages where they are, ladies and gentlemen, and all those in between and beyond. I'm wishing you a wonderful morning, noon, or night, wherever you are in the ether of this time and space, and may you keep flowing, growing, and glowing.